I used to work overnights at a small, privately owned convenience store just outside of town. The kind of place that was mostly empty once the sun went down, especially on weekdays. It sat at the edge of a back road surrounded by dense trees and open lots. Not much foot traffic and barely any customers past 10 p.m. But the owner liked having someone there during the night, said it made him feel safer knowing someone was around. The quiet hum of the security monitors. The occasional patter of rain against the roof. Most nights I just organized stock, watched old horror movies on my phone, and waited for my shift to end. It was peaceful. Until it wasn't. It started on a Thursday, a little after 1 in the morning. A thunderstorm had been going for hours. And then I heard it. A soft metallic rattle coming from the back door. At first I didn't move. I thought maybe it was the wind or something shifting in the stockroom. But then I heard it again. This time louder, deliberate, like someone was trying the handle. I froze. My heart picking up as I quietly stepped around the counter. The front door was locked, I knew that for sure, but the back one? I couldn't remember if I'd double-checked it. My footsteps muffled by the rain hammering the roof. The power flickered just as I reached the end of the hall, then... Total darkness. I stood there for a second, completely still. The only sound was the rain tapping against the building and the soft creak of the old walls settling. I fumbled for the flashlight we kept near the fire extinguisher and flicked it on. The beam cut through the dark, shaky and weak. The batteries were dying. Half expecting to see someone staring through the little window. But there was nothing. Just water streaking down the glass. I was about to head back to the front when I heard something else. Carried by the wind through the cracks in the doorframe, a whisper. At first I thought it was in my head. But then it came again. Clearer this time. Like someone just outside the door was calling softly. Help! Help! Barely audible over the rain. I stood there listening, my grip tightening around the flashlight. The voice came again, slightly louder. Please. I didn't know what to do. I felt torn between opening the door or calling someone. But before I could decide, the rattling started again, this time violent. Like someone was full-on yanking the handle. I jumped back, nearly dropping the flashlight, then I ran. Not toward the door but toward the front where I knew there was a landline. I picked up the phone with shaking hands. But the line was dead. I stared at the receiver, heart pounding, then I heard it. Footsteps, not inside, but along the side of the building, squishing through the mud, slow and dragging. Like someone was circling the structure. I turned off the flashlight and crouched behind the counter, holding my breath. The rain masked a lot of the sound, but I could hear them, moving, stopping, then moving again. Then, suddenly, something hit the front windows hard, not enough to break them, but enough to make the glass shudder. I bit down on my lip to keep from gasping, then slowly peeked over the edge of the counter. The front lot was empty. Or at least, it looked that way. I stayed there for maybe 10 minutes, just crouched and listening. When the lights suddenly came back on with a loud buzz, I jumped again. The harsh fluorescent light flooding the store. And for a moment, I thought maybe it was over, until the door handle turned. Not the back one this time. The front. The main entrance. I heard the lock twist. Except I never unlocked it. Someone had gotten inside. I didn't even have time to react before I saw the shadow move across the far aisle, slow and steady like they weren't in a rush. I didn't make a sound, I just quietly slipped into the employee bathroom and locked the door. Pressing my ear against the wood, the footsteps grew louder, closer, then stopped. And then, the lights went out again. This time for good. I couldn't see a thing. Couldn't even hear the rain anymore, just silence. And then, right outside the door, I heard it again. Whispers. Multiple voices this time, all low and garbled, like a conversation underwater. I backed away from the door, holding my breath, and then the bathroom doorknob twitched. Once. Then again. Rattling violently now. Like someone, or something, was trying to get in. I grabbed my phone, using the screen's glow to see just enough to text my boss. The message barely went through before the rattling stopped. Silence again. Total, oppressive silence. Then a new sound. Faint, but unmistakable. A single word whispered through the keyhole.
Leave.
I didn't move for over an hour, crouched in that tiny bathroom, until I heard a voice yelling my name. It was my boss. He had gotten the text and drove over, flashlight in hand. We searched the store together, but nothing was out of place. Both doors were locked tight. Not a single footprint outside, not even in the mud by the back entrance. It didn't make sense. None of it made sense. He let me go home early, and I didn't argue. I quit 2 days later. Whatever was out there that night, it didn't want help. It wanted me out. I worked nights at a diner off a rural highway, the kind of place that smelled like burnt coffee and old grease. It was usually empty after midnight, just the hum of the cooler and the crackle of the neon sign. That night a thunderstorm rolled in. Rain pounding the windows so hard I could barely hear the old jukebox crackling in the corner. Lightning flashed, throwing shadows across the linoleum floor. Around 2 a.m., a man walked in, soaking wet. He was tall, wearing a faded baseball cap pulled low. He sat at the far end of the counter, dripping water onto the tile. I greeted him, trying to hide the unease in my voice. He didn't answer, just kept his head down, staring at the countertop. I poured him coffee, setting the cup gently in front of him. He didn't move, didn't look up. The storm rumbled outside, thunder shaking the windows. I glanced at the man again, wondering if he was okay. His hands twitched slightly, his shoulders hunched. I asked if he wanted anything else. He didn't respond. The air felt heavy, like the whole room was holding its breath. Another flash of lightning lit up his face. Pale, eyes wide open, staring at nothing. My stomach flipped. Something about his blank stare felt wrong, like he wasn't really there. I stepped back, grabbing a rag and pretending to clean. The rain kept falling, a steady roar against the glass. I tried to keep busy, but every time I glanced back he hadn't moved, hadn't blinked, just sat there, eyes locked on some distant point only he could see. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, each second dragging out like hours. Finally I worked up the courage to ask again, this time louder. But he didn't even flinch. His lips parted just a little. I could see his breath fog the air, even though the diner was warm. I felt cold creep up my arms, goosebumps prickling my skin. Something wasn't right. I looked away for a second, just to grab another pot of coffee. When I looked back, he was gone. The stool empty, the counter wet where he had sat, but no sign of him. The door hadn't opened, the bell hadn't chimed. I ran to the entrance and peered out into the rain-soaked parking lot. Empty, no footprints, no headlights disappearing into the night. I locked the doors, hard hammering. I didn't sleep when I got home that morning. I kept thinking about the look in his eyes, blank and endless like a pit. A week later a state trooper came by asking questions. Apparently a trucker had been found dead in his rig a few miles up the road. They said he'd likely been dead for hours before anyone noticed. When they showed me his picture my blood turned to ice. It was the man from the diner, same cap, same pale eyes. They told me he died in that truck long before the storm. Long before he sat at my counter. I don't work nights anymore, and sometimes when it rains, I swear I see someone sitting at the far end of my kitchen table, dripping wet, staring at nothing, waiting. I work night security at a new mall built just outside town. Sleek and bright during the day, cold and empty at night. People whispered that they built it over an old cemetery. The company denied it, but some workers said they found bones while digging the foundation. The place always felt wrong after dark, like the walls were watching. My first night alone, a storm hit, rain pounded the roof, thunder shook the glass, the halls echoed with every step. Around 2 a.m., I walked past the children's play area. The lights flickered. That's when I saw them. Small wet footprints across the floor. Tiny, like a child's, leading into the shadows behind the plastic slides. My voice shaking, I called out, but no one answered. The footprints vanished into the dark. I stepped closer. The smell of damp earth and something rotting hit me, thick and heavy. Lightning flashed overhead. In that split second I saw her, a little girl standing by the slide, pale skin, black hair hanging over her face. She wore a dirty white dress, soaked and clinging to her small frame, her feet bare and covered in mud, her head tilted slightly, like she was listening. I blinked, and she was gone. The play area empty, the tiny footprints already drying. I backed away, my hands shaking, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. I ran to the security office and locked the door. I checked the cameras. Most showed empty halls, but one screen flickered. The feed outside the play area. The girl was there, standing in the middle of the floor, head down, arms limp at her sides. Slowly she lifted her head, black eyes staring at the camera. Her mouth opened wide, too wide. Black water poured out, spilling onto the floor. The feed cut to static. I stumbled back, whispering to myself, hoping morning would come. I heard soft footsteps outside the office, tiny wet feet slapping the tile. I held my breath, praying she wouldn't try the door. The footsteps circled the room, then stopped. I stayed in that office until sunrise. I didn't move, didn't sleep, just stared at the monitors, waiting for her to come back. When the sun finally rose, the cameras flickered to life, showing bright empty halls, clean floors, no water, no footprints. The play area looked normal again, colorful and bright. But I knew what I'd seen was real. I could still smell the wet earth, still hear her tiny footsteps echoing in my head. I quit that morning, packed my locker and walked out into the rain. I never went back. But sometimes when I drive past the mall at night, I see her standing by the glass doors, her tiny hand pressed against the window, waiting. Sometimes I think I hear her whispering my name through the glass, begging to be let in. But I never stop. I keep driving, hoping she never finds her way out.